Welcome back to the Banana Wagon, our sprinter project. As you can see, we've got it in our lovely grain store today because, one, I need to jack it up on a nice flat surface, which we have in here, and also it's a little bit drizzly out there. So today we're going to be fitting our Überspeicher heater, the diesel heater. I don't know if I've pronounced it right, but Nick will spell it out for me because I'm not 100% sure. But the diesel heater. So we're going to take a look at that. First things first, I need to jack this up so I can get underneath and have a good coat of looking at it. So I'm going to put my overalls on first because I don't want to get completely filthy. Right, let's get cracking. This is the diesel heater kit. Look at it, there's loads of it. It's pretty awesome, I have to say. So I've unboxed it to have a good look at it and familiarise myself with what we've got. I've never fitted one of these before, so I think it's going to be really interesting. So what I've worked out from this so far, we've got a heater, we've got ducting, we've got wiring loom, we've got an exhaust, and we've got our outlets as well. So these are our hot air outlets. But before we touch any of this, I need to drop the fuel tank on the van. First thing we need to do is open up our fuel flat. And we need to remove this because I need to remove the filler fuel neck part of it to be able to drop the tank. So, first part, with the Torx 30 on a ratchet, which I have just here, we can start undoing. You can see our filler neck is loose and away from the body, so that should come down with our tank all in one go. So we're underside, ready to drop the fuel tank down. Nick's actually filming upside down at the moment, but I think he can probably spin it around with his magic stuff on the computer. I need to disconnect fuel pipes, so we've got two fuel pipes here, one's an in and one's a return, and also a wiring plug there. These wiring goes to our sender unit in the tank. And then obviously last of all, I just need to undo the straps and drop the tank down. Now I've got the tank supported with a trolley jack and a bit of handy wood from the workshop. So all we need to do is undo stuff. Just as a matter of interest, the bolts that hold the fuel tank straps up, they're an external Torx type and they're an external Torx number 14. I've just grabbed an oil drain tray because I've got to undo a couple of fuel pipes and it will get messy. So this should catch it all. I've got my safety glasses on to stop dirt and diesel dropping my eye because it's not a good combination, I don't think. First thing I'm going to do is unplug our electrics. So I slide my little crafty screwdriver in there like so. That should release the clip to be able to undo it like that. Lovely. Next I need to undo these clips on the pipes. Well, these can be a little bit more fiddly, so I need to squeeze them and push them and pop them up, and that will take the locking mechanism off, and I should be able to just slide them off. That's one. The very last thing to remove before I actually do drop the tank is this gasket that goes around the filler neck underneath here. So I've managed to tease that out of past the filler neck, and now I can drop the tank. So I can take it really slow with the trolley jack. Hopefully we're not too caught up with the tank, but ideally I don't want to spill any diesel, so I'm just going to lower it as slow as I can, really. It's not in the middle. Let's give that a little shove across. Also, there's a little earth tag to unplug. So I've unplugged him, didn't want to pull him out. So our tank's down on the deck now. All I need to do is just pop that filler neck this side, and then we can slide the tank out. So I really don't want to drop any dirt in that tank at all. Last thing I want to do is start picking up dirt that's going to go into the filter, could possibly go through the filter and then damage the fuel pump. But the main thing is we need to clean the top the best we can before we take that out. I'm going to disconnect the pipes from our sender unit. They have the same type of clips as before. So again, we're going to push those down and try and tease them out with a screwdriver. So have this clip. So there's several ways you can remove this sender unit. You can either use a block of wood and a hammer and gently tap it round, or you can get a proper tool that fits over and with its feet and grabs the edges, and you can undo it that way. Or you can use one of these. This was proper tight, so I've had to resort to these special pliers. Oh yeah. So I should probably say why I'm removing this. The reason I'm removing this is because we need to get a fuel feed to our heater. So I'm going to use this little spare pipe here, this outlet. It's actually blanked off at the moment. We're going to drill through this outlet. So I've removed our sender unit, and obviously you can see this is what's called a swell pot, and it's always got fuel in it, so you never run out of fuel when you go around corners. That's the idea. But it's no good to us because we need to be able to drain that and not make a mess. So again, we need to be super careful. Next I can drill through this little blanked off fella here, and that will supply our fuel supplied for our heater. So with the drill, I'm going to gently drill through. I'm going to put my finger underneath as well, so I don't want any of the stuff falling through. So you feel a bit of a resistance and then it pops through. Obviously don't go too far because you end up coming through the back, and that'll just ruin the sender unit. So that's that bit done. So this kit comes with quite a small fuel pickup pipe. So if you didn't have that, basically the little blanked off version we've got there, you could drill right the way through and fit this. But this is really small and it doesn't fit our fitting. So I'm not going to use that. I'm just going to use a standard bit of 6mm fuel pipe that we sell. I've cut it to 20 centimetres in length. The reason I've done that is so when this is in situ in the tank, we can't basically drain the whole tank dry with just leaving the heater running overnight. So you don't get up in the morning and find that you've got no diesel left to get to the diesel station. The way I've done that is obviously I've measured the complete depth of this tank right the way down to the bottom, and then minus probably about 40 or 50 mil, I would think. So we're well in. So we should keep somewhere roughly around between 1/8 and 1/4 of a tank before we run out, and this will cut out at that point. So that's just a little safety tip. So we can push this on up underneath, and I can fit a nice little clamp under there. This is our fuel pipe that comes in the kit. As you can see, it's a lovely little tiny weeny blue fuel pipe, but this is really resilient and perfect for the application. It's got a lovely little 90-degree bend almost, bit of pipe here which is the same size as this. But as you can see, that wouldn't have fitted our outlet from our pickup. So I've got a tiny little length of 8mm fuel pipe, which will now fit nicely and snugly over this end. And I've managed to squeeze this into this end too. Now the two rubber parts that are going together, so a little trick there is just spray a little bit of window cleaner, and that actually slips in there really quickly. And then once the window cleaner dries, it's secure. So I've put a little clamp around it just to be doubly safe sure, but this can go on now. And that should just slide on, give it a little wiggle. Right, ready to refit. Definitely do not want to forget this. This is our main seal that goes between our sender unit and our tank. Obviously the tank's lovely and clean. Just gonna pop the seal on, he's nice and clean too. Right, lovely. And now we can submerge our fuel sender. This is for the fuel gauge. So we've got to be careful getting him in first. Bit of a wiggle, there we go. Actually, before I go any further, I've made a little bit of a boo-boo. This pipe here, I wanted facing towards the front of the vehicle, which is that way. And for some reason, when I had it out, I thought I had it the right way around. Anyway, I didn't. So I'm just going to quickly loosen this clamp and switch that over. So Sean's come down to check us out. He's our QC. So now I've got the pipe facing the right way, so he's facing forwards. I can put our seal ring back on. We need to be careful when we compress this that we don't ping the spring out. Let's pop that round. And our seal's still in place. And get this sort of located like that. Right. We just push down. And then we can start. And there we go. So that's super tight now. Obviously we use the magic pliers to do so. I've managed to get that arrow all the way round, nearly just in line with the original arrow, but it's so tight I don't want to go any further because these rings are only plastic, and we know that that seal is in good shape and that'll be compressed lovely. Lovely. Clipped on, beautiful. Okay, can I have that bit of wood please, Nick? Thank you very much. So I've just pushed the tank strap in this side, and it's lined up with the holes really easily, so I'm going to put the bolts in to secure the back end. Nick's very kindly helped me jack the tank up, as you can see. So we've got the jack sandwiched between we've got the tank sandwiched between the jack and the floor. All I need to do now is put the tank straps on, put the bolts in, and that's the tank bolted back in. And then we just need to obviously put the screws back in for the filler neck and the filler flap. Cool. Squeakiest jack in history. Pretty squeaky, isn't it? I think we need a can of spray on it or something, some lube. I'm just going to try and line up the original marks that the bolts left. We call them witness marks. So hopefully the door is in exactly the same position, the little filler door, than it was before. Got the cap on. Just going to pop down and put our fuel pipes back in and our sender unit. But you can wait here, I'll be back in a minute. Fuel tanks all back up and bolted in position. Really pleased with that. And we've got our fuel feed coming out for our heater unit. Next, we need to put our heater unit into the van. I've decided to put the heater unit under the passenger seat and this side of the passenger seat, as it's in a double seat, purely because I think it's probably the best and safest place for it. Underneath's okay, but inside we're away from the elements, aren't we? And I think pushing the heat from this corner is probably the best for the van as well. So we're going to start in this area and the heat's going to disperse that way. They've also got a fan vent in the roof so they could draw the air through if they needed to. I think that I'm going to drill the holes next and actually get the main unit bolted in position, and then we can look at maybe putting the feed pipes in after that. My template marked out under the seat. I'm going to run through with a pilot drill first, through all the holes. And then after that, for the big holes for the main part of the heater goes through, I'm going to use a cone cutter, like so, to cut the big holes. So let's get that done. The holes are drilled, so I'll let Nick do the honours.
Oh. Fits nice and snug.
Okay, that was a nice test fit, thanks Nick. But before we put it in permanently, I'm just going to put a little drop of paint around the bare edges. So we're going to continue drilling because we've got a couple more holes to drill, and that's for these. This is the outlet, the hot air outlet, and we've got another one for the air inlet as well. I'll show you where they go. We decided to put our hot air outlet here. This can twiddle around as well, so it can face up or face down. It's quite a nice position in the van, and we can push the heat from here to the back. Our inlet, we decided to go here, in the side of the seat base. So we can draw air in through this side, heat it up and push it out that side. So we'll be recirculating and heating our air. So it should make it quite efficient and heat it up fairly quickly. This is our heater with its pipes on. Obviously they don't need to be this long. This is as long as they supply them. So I'm going to pop it in and sort of roughly work out where I need to cut them to length really. So that is our next job. A bit spare. I can actually make it into a pair of binoculars. That's pretty cool. I'm pleased with that. That works well. So we've got our inlet here. Snakes round nicely through our hot air device, and then snakes round straight into the back of the van. I'm quite impressed with the whole unit itself and how it fits, but mainly those flexible pipes, they're really good. They don't kink, they actually follow the nice shape really easily, so we're going to have good flow through that. The next bit is quite fiddly. It's nuts and washers time to go on and fix it from underneath, so I'll pop under and do that and show you when I'm done. We've got the two pipes popping through here and our little pipe here, and obviously our nuts onto our studs to secure the actual unit itself. Now this little tinky pipe here is our fuel feed in. So we'll have a fuel pump that will drip feed fuel into here. This is an air intake and exhaust. The air intake and the exhaust is for the burner only, which is inside the actual unit itself. So this would be our fresh air intake pipe, for instance. I'm just going to gently push that on there. So I'd need to put this somewhere where it's not going to draw water. So I wouldn't put it right behind the wheel arch. down here where the mud flat would be, so I'll try and get it up as high as possible. That'll draw fresh air in. We drip feed a little bit of diesel inside, the burner burns and the exhaust comes out of here, and then inside our fresh air is drawn in over our heat exchanger, and then the hot air is then, or warm air, pushed out into the van, so we don't get any contamination of exhaust fumes inside. Next I need to finalise the positions of the air intake pipe and then fix it with little clips. So we've got a pipe clip that will go around here, and then a little P clip that will go around this pipe too. And the same with the exhaust. And then I've got a muffler on the exhaust. So this muffler here will obviously quieten the exhaust sound down. Again, I need to mount him somewhere, so I'll find somewhere really nice to mount him. Air intake, I'm going to put further up here. So I'm going to keep it quite high, and it doesn't look that dirty up here, as in, I don't think much of the muck from the road and the moisture is getting up, literally up there. I think that's a good place for our inlet. So that's what we're going to go with. Our exhaust is going to come down. I think try and get away from either underside maybe, out of the vehicle. Not sure yet. Air intake definitely up there though. I'm going to fix our intake pipe first. It's quite long, and I wanted to leave it quite long because I can get it right up out the way of our weather and water and all that jazz. So I'm going to put a fixing in here, drill that, obviously I've got my safety glasses on, drill through there, put a screw in there and do the same up there. Then that side of it's fixed, then I'll move on to the exhaust pipe I think. So anyway, let's get a hole drilled. So fitting the first P-clip to our inlet pipe, oh my god, I do have to say, Mercedes know how to make a van. You need some mega hardcore drill bits to drill through that part of the chassis. I've done it, it's screwed in, that's the first one fitted. The exhaust is actually pushed onto our heater unit, and I've put a clamp at the top there to hold it. Now I'm going to run this along the sill and then clip it along there and put our silencer on. Somewhere like that I think. Yeah, pretty good. For our exhaust mount, I'm going to use a riv nut just because it's going to be a little bit more substantial than just a self-tapping screw. So I've drilled our relevant size hole for our M5 is what I'm going to use, M5 size riv nut. Give that a good old squeeze. And then we have an M5 thread. Perfect, so I can bolt our exhaust to that. Now I can tighten up our 10mm bolt there. A couple of P-clips on the exhaust line. Job's a good one. So the last two clamps for our exhaust pipe, I'm going to put one either side of this part here of the sill panel, because what I want to keep this up out the way, and you know, we don't want to drag this over anything and cause any damage when we're driving, so that's going to be quite tight up through there. But a clip either side of that I think would be just absolutely perfect. Important notice from EP6. I think I said it right that time. Important notice, this is the new fuel metering pump. So it's telling me that the connections are actually on the other side to the old pumps. So not to get them confused which way they flow. So again, just check diagrams and instructions, it's a must. And it's telling me that I need to also have the fuel pump angled up between 15 and 35 degrees on the output side. So that's good to know. Okay, that's good, I'm pleased with that. Comes with this lovely little mounting, rubber mounting. So that squeezes in there. And then we can screw that straight to our chassis. Wow, it's quite tight. It's quite a good fit. Beautiful. Remove the passenger side step. The reason being is that I could get to where I needed to drill for our fuel pump mount. So I sussed out from the other side exactly where I wanted to put the fuel pump. I couldn't get my drill in there. So I managed to mark it and drill it from this side. And obviously, if you drill a hole, make sure you pop a little bit of paint around it, just for anti-corrosion. So I changed my mind slightly on the fuel pump. I did have it fitted this side, which was lovely and neat. It kept all the pipework really neat, but I was just a bit concerned that it was a touch close to the exhaust, even though it was probably okay. So to err on the side of caution, I've moved the pump across to the other side, so our pipes are well away from our exhaust now. Much happier with it in that position. It's away from our exhaust. We've got our fuel inlet coming into the bottom of the pump, and then our input out the top into our heater unit. So next, let's get some wiring to it. The wiring was actually really quite straightforward. When we had it laid out on the table, it looked quite daunting. But really, it just had a lot of length to it, I think, just for aid fitting to if you're putting your heater underneath, you've still got a lot of wiring to be able to run your control panel to where you need it. Now, we plugged the main control unit in, so that's all loomed and plugged ready to go. Then all we had were feed wires and earth wires, so we run straight across to our leisure battery over the other side. Then a pair of wires down to the fuel pump, obviously, one for earth and one for the actual feed for it. And then the other wires were simply the hand control panel, simple as that, which I ran up the B pillar and all the way into the back so they can control it from inside at the rear. The really cool thing about this control panel is you can either set it timed or you can set it manually. Also, you can run the heater unit as just a cold fan, or obviously the full-on heater as well. So we're going to turn it on for one final test. So for example, you can see here our heater is on and we've got it set to run for the next 29 minutes. Wow, that's really quiet and warming up pretty quickly. That's only been on a couple of minutes. Feels good. Excellent. That's our diesel heater fitted. And the really exciting part about that is it's now time for me to hand over to Ben and Anna. I really can't wait to see this camper starting to take shape. It's starting to look good already, but by the time Ben and Anna get all their furniture fitted, I think it's going to look really cool. Anyway, tune in next week and see what they've been up to.